I've made a video on my Garmin Forerunner 255 before on my channel, and there's been a lot of interest when I made the video about that watch being on a small wrist. So I'm going to go through the same thing about having the Forerunner 955 on a small wrist as well. I'm going to link that video down below if you're interested in the 255. I'm also going to compare a little bit about this watch and the 255 and why I upgraded from the 255 to the 955, and also the reasons why I didn't go for the 965 AMOLED version. So I'm going to go through that with you today. So when I bought the Forerunner 255, I actually really wanted the 955 Solar, but at the time it was really expensive. I think it was about £500–600 when it first came out. I couldn't quite justify paying that much for a sports watch, and it was also going to be my first Garmin, so I thought I would go with the 255, see how that goes, save some money, and yeah, take it from there. So I came from using a Fitbit Charge 4 to the Forerunner 255, and it was a big jump at the time in terms of prices and features and size as well, so everything was very new at the time, so it was good to get the 255 as a step up. I ended up getting the 255 in the music version because I didn't really like the colors of the non-music version, and I think that they did that deliberately because I feel like a lot of people would like either the white or the black, and those two colors were only available as the music version. So I ended up getting the music version even though I didn't actually ever use the music feature. One reason being because it just cut out and it just wasn't a good feature. It just didn't really work properly for me, and two, a lot of the times I don't actually listen to music, so I just ended up not using the feature. And the reason I paid a little bit more to get the music version is because I wanted a black version, but then I also really wanted the white version. So I ended up getting white straps on the 255 for the black watch. When I've been dreaming about the 955, I always wanted the white version, but I wasn't sure how the white was going to last and if it's going to get really dirty, because I've never had a white Garmin watch before, and I know I'll be wearing it a lot and then running in it and sweating in it. So I thought I will get the black one for the 255 because I just wasn't sure how I was going to wear. But then after getting these white straps on the 255, they lasted really well. It didn't really get that dirty. It had kind of wear on it like any straps, but it wasn't dirty, it wasn't filthy or anything like that. So I was more confident getting the 955 in white. Same as the 955, I wore the 255 every single day. I had it for about 18 months. I wore it every day, and the only time I took it off was to charge, and then after a shower just to dry the watch off and my skin to dry it off underneath. But that worked really well. Really loved it and really enjoyed that watch. When I was deciding to upgrade to a different watch, I looked at the Garmin Fenix Pro. I like the idea of having a watch that had even better battery, but I find that watch was quite a lot chunkier and a bit heavier, and it had kind of the metal ring around the watch, and I wasn't sure how that was going to feel wearing it every single day. I feel like I would like that watch if I wasn't wearing it every day and just to wear it when I was running or doing ultras, then that watch will probably be really good. But for a watch that expensive and not wear it every day, I couldn't justify it. So I just decided to go with the watch that I originally wanted, which is the 955 Solar in white. Now that Garmin has come out with the 965, the 955 is actually a better deal compared to when it first came out. So there's a lot of offers around, a lot of sales, and this one was reduced by quite a bit. The 255 when I sold it at the time was still worth quite a bit, so I managed to put money from that towards this watch, so it wasn't like a really expensive watch, because it's still not that cheap considering it's come out quite a long time and there's been a lot of interest in the 965 instead. So this is still an expensive watch, but I managed to save a bit of money from sales and then putting money towards from my 255 to the 955. So the 955 and the 255 are actually the same size kind of around the ring. If you put them kind of on top of each other, they are pretty much the same size, and I think the main difference is the height of the watch. The 955 is quite a bit taller, and in that way it kind of just feels a little bit chunkier than the 255. And I think I said previously, having the white version makes it seem like it's bigger than it is. So if you had the same watch in black and white, the white one would just look bigger on your wrist. Yeah, it doesn't mean it actually is bigger, it just looks bigger for some reason, which I really like because I just like really chunky watches. I like anything that just looks big on the wrist. I don't know why, it's just me personally. So for me, this is really good. I like how it looks and just how it feels as well. You just don't really feel it considering the size. But yeah, compared to the 255, yeah, that's the only difference, is kind of the height of the watch. But to me, that hasn't caused any issues. It still fits under my sleeves if I were to wear kind of long sleeves. I don't feel like it's any bulkier. So to me, it hasn't added like space around my wrist, or I don't end up knocking it or anything. So to me, it's not been a problem, even though it's slightly taller. And I actually got the white because I wanted it to look bigger. I wouldn't mind if I had an even bigger watch than this. Like I say, I thought about the Phoenix, but I just don't know for day to day if that's going to be comfortable, especially when I wear the watch to go to bed with, because I use the alarm feature every day. So I don't know wearing that to bed if that's going to be very comfortable. So, but this is actually a really good kind of just perfect watch in terms of size, feature, lightness. Another reason I upgraded from the 255 to the 955 is because I wanted a better battery. To be fair, the battery on the 255 has been really good. It's never run out of battery on a run. I've been doing marathon training and actually running the marathon, and I'm a very slow runner, so my first marathon was over 6 hours and the battery has been absolutely fine. So there's no real reason for me to upgrade necessarily because of the battery, but the 955 does have a better battery, and having the solar version does help if you're out running on a sunny day. I'm planning to run some ultra marathons this year, so I want a watch that has a longer battery just because I don't want it to run out while I'm doing my first 100k this year. That would be the worst thing, is to run out of battery and not actually track the race properly. So that was one of the reasons why I upgraded to the 955. The 955 solar version does have a reddish looking bezel around it. It is quite obvious in certain lights. It's very reflective and makes the screen look very shiny, which I actually really like. If you don't like that reddish bezel, then the non-solar one would probably be more suited for you, but I really like it, and I'm so used to looking at it now, it doesn't really bother me. And the fact that sometimes on a sunny day it does slow down the draining of battery with the solar option is not great in the UK, and if you have an office job that you always indoors a lot, the solar version isn't really worth it. But I like the idea of solar, and I've always wanted a solar watch because I feel like free energy, even though it doesn't really do that much in this country. I'm still glad I got the solar version. Compared to the 255, the 955 has a touchscreen, which I actually turned off. I thought I would use it a bit more. It's actually very handy if you want to move around on the map or you want to zoom in and out. Actually, the touchscreen's really good. But I find I always accidentally touch it when I'm just wearing it day to day, or if I brush past something, or I kind of just feel like I'm always accidentally touching the screen. So I've actually turned it off. So I don't actually use the touchscreen feature at all. I still use the buttons, which work really well. And once you kind of get used to the buttons, they just work seamlessly. It's a bit like driving a manual car, kind of you go onto autopilot, you don't even think about what buttons to press and what they do, you kind of just get used to them. So the touchscreen hasn't really been that useful for me as an upgrade, but that's fine. I'm just so used to the buttons, and then they work fine until it breaks. Another feature on the 955 compared to the 255 is the map. The map on the 955 is colourful, it's very detailed, and it's just been really nice to use for even just walking, like going on a hike. I've not used it so much for running because I've not run in many new areas that I don't know, but I've used them on some walks and hikes that I've done, and it worked really well because you can actually see, sometimes there are kind of like two lanes or paths that are quite close to each other, and having a more detailed map, you can actually see which kind of path you need to be on. Whereas on the 255, you don't get all the details of the different lanes and roads, and generally it's only an arrow that you follow. So it would have a red arrow that would tell you which direction you're going. It does tell you if you're going the wrong direction, but it's quite hard to kind of see. And I feel like a lot of the times with the 255, I would end up turning somewhere and wouldn't know I'm going the wrong way until the arrow points the way I came. So the maps on the 955 is a lot better because it's just more detailed, and I've been enjoying that. One of the biggest questions I get a lot about getting the 955 is why didn't I get the 965 or even the 165 of this watch? A few reasons. The 955 is a bit cheaper now because of the 965 and the AMOLED screen, and I feel like a lot of people are attracted to the bright colourful screen. So one of the reasons being because this is more affordable. The other reason is because I like having the screen on all the time. I use this as a watch every day and I use it to check the dates as well. So for me, I prefer to have a display that's always on. I know you can have the display on the 965 and 165 and any of the AMOLED screens. I know you can have the display on all the time, but it's a bit like a phone screen. So to have that on all the time means it's going to drain battery a little bit quicker. So for me, I don't like the idea of having a screen on all the time. So potentially having a AMOLED screen that will drain the battery more than an MIP display, to me feels like it's the wrong decision for me at the moment. I just prefer having the screen on all the time. That's all. And I don't even have gestures. Sometimes you have like backlights that come on, so as you turn your wrist upwards, it lights up so you can see your watch better. And I know you can set that with the AMOLED screen watches as well, but that just means you're constantly turning the screen on and off as you move. And to me, that's just another battery thing that I just personally don't like, and I just, even now, I don't have the light come on when I move my wrist, because I just find that annoying. And again, it drains battery. And the other reason is AMOLED screens don't have the solar feature. It's just something that hasn't been worked out yet with having solar feature on an AMOLED screen. Maybe in the future it would be possible, but at the moment it's only available on the MIP displays. So that's why I wanted an MIP display rather than an AMOLED watch. And also I use this watch as a watch and also for tracking my runs. I use this as a sports watch rather than a smartwatch. So for those who kind of like having the smartwatch options and the smartwatch features, the AMOLED screen is probably good for them because you can kind of see messages quickly and then you have these nice bright colors that pop up all the time. But to me, I've turned off all the smartwatch features on this watch because I don't want to constantly be reminded you have a message, you have a phone call, you have an email. To me, I feel like phones are really distracting enough. I don't need a watch to tell me I need to check my phone all the time. So I've turned that all off. So for me, having the AMOLED version is a bit of a waste because I just don't use it like a smartwatch like most people do probably. I don't know if that makes sense. So to me, I like a more simple version of the watch that tracks my runs and my exercises, and I can check the time, and one that I don't need to plug in all the time to charge. So for me, this is perfect. A couple of other features that I quite enjoy with the 955 that the 255 didn't have is the live stamina. So when I'm on a run, I can set up a screen to show me like the percentage of my stamina. So at the start of the run, it could be 100%, not always, depending on how I sleep. Sometimes I start off with like 80% stamina, and then you can kind of see your stamina go down as you run. And I thought that was quite an interesting feature that I've been really enjoying. The other feature that I've really used a lot is my training readiness, which isn't available on the 255. So I've set up my morning report where it tells me my training readiness, especially if I know I'm going to have a run that day, or especially a long run. I like knowing my training readiness, whether it's high or moderate, and it's just nice to know that my body is ready to do that long run. And I think it's quite accurate because the days where I do sleep a little bit better or a little bit more, I do find my training readiness says it's quite high, and I do feel like it. And then days where I've slept very badly, which happens quite a lot, it says my training readiness is low, or I haven't recovered enough, so I might feel fatigue on a run. So I feel like it is quite accurate, and I really enjoy that feature. So if that's something you would like on your watch and you would like it to tell you about your training readiness, then I think the 955 is definitely better than the 255. They're both really good watches. The 955 obviously a bit more expensive than the 255, but they've both come down in price quite a lot. I don't think you can go wrong with either of these watches. They're both great. I've had both and really enjoy both of them. I've upgraded for the reasons I said, but I don't think it's necessarily important for everyone else. If you just want an entry watch or a watch that is reliable, good battery, and just tracks your race and helps you train for any kind of races that you've got coming up, I think the 255 is really good. as it is. So all in all, I'm very happy with the 955. I think if this watch works and it doesn't break, I would have it for a very long time. I haven't regretted upgrading it, and I still would stick with the MIP display for as long as possible. That's just my personal preference, and I've just been really happy with it. Hopefully I've kind of answered some of the questions that I get asked quite a bit, and hopefully it's been helpful for you deciding on getting this watch instead of the 965 or 165. I feel like I've kind of talked a lot about various things in this video. Hopefully it wasn't jumping around too much, and it's been kind of useful for you. If you have any other questions about the watch, then please leave them down below, or if there's anything else that you want me to cover in more detail, then I'm happy to do that, because I feel like I've used this watch quite a lot to be able to answer some of the questions that you might have. I'm not going to go into detail in terms of features and how the watch works and all the settings and everything, because I feel like there's so many other better videos out there that others have made, and I'm not going to be any better than those ones. So I feel like I'm only going to make videos that are specific to my experience and what I think is going to be useful that potentially hasn't been covered by someone else. So hopefully I haven't rambled on too long and you found it somewhat interesting. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on my next video. My name is Uni, and thanks for watching. Bye.